Okay, Sharon, I've gone through and had a look at your work, and here's some feedback. You will also notice that I've sent you this copy so you can see how it works. Right, first of all, we have here, I've put down where needs to be a title here. I know it's an interim submission, but we're going to have to put the title in that place there. Alright, let's start moving down the page. Let's make this slightly, we can move down the page. I'm quite happy with most of it. I'm not sure if that figure's correct, because from what I've seen so far, I think that your word count is probably greater than that, and I don't think there's that much more to do at this point. Okay, you are very close to the end of producing your dissertation. Let's come down a few more pages and have a look at the very beginning, the part where we start off in the introductions. Okay, Chapter 1, Literature Review. I've put down here there needs to be a section, a sort of introduction to the work before you get down to the aim, objectives and hypothesis. And what I suggest you do here is you come down the page, you select the background, this part here, move all of this, so all of this section, all of this through here, down to about here, right? From there to here, I would move this, and I would move it to here. And then it sets the scene for your dissertation and the aims and objectives. You may want to expand it a little bit, but this point here then says here's the problem, and therefore the aim of this dissertation, and so on. I've changed these a little. We may want to change the wording. The only sense that I would look at this is there's lots of evaluation and examination. You might want to use things like analyse, critically review and that type of thing. But in principle your objectives are fine. I will mention this later on, but please pick these up and move them into the conclusions, this entire section, because the conclusions will answer these comments that you've made here. Okay, so basically your conclusions have to answer all of your objectives plus your hypothesis and your analysis, and your aim. So I'll talk about that again when I get to the conclusion section. Alright, I've got rid of a few places here the word the, and just give it general background to construction experience and that type of thing. It really is down to you, but those are the sort of things I would look at this point. Again, I've got rid of the. Now the other thing is, I've noticed you have down here 1.1. Well, is that 1? Because I thought this was the literature review, and if that's the literature review, 1 should start at the top of the page. I'm not going to go back to it, but think about your numbering when it comes to your headings and subheadings. We've looked at this in the past, and I'm happy with all of this. The next part I'm going to go to now is I'm going to skip down and have a look at your research methodology. Before we go any further, at the end of your literature review you need to bring some kind of summary. It's not quite a discussion, but it's basically highlighting the main points of your literature review. Yeah, so it sort of like draws it to a conclusion. At the moment it just says this list and it finishes it. You're going to have to sort of bring this together to give a sort of comprehensive review of what you've done. The other thing I would do with a literature review is go back through it and with a pen and a piece of paper just write down all of the main points that have come out of the literature review which relate to each of the objectives, because it is from this information that you then draw your conclusions. So if the literature reviewer stated this, or it stated that client satisfaction is poor, you then, when you look at your analysis of client satisfaction, you can then say the literature reviewer stated that analysis for client satisfaction is poor, and this has been supported or it has not been supported in the field research. This is how you draw your conclusions when you get to the final part. Here, purpose of the study, what I want to know here is what was the sample size and who was in it, and your rationale for choosing that sample size, that sample and its size. Think about this in the recommendations, because you could come back to this at a later point and then say we use these as my recommendations, and your recommendations could be, well, next time the next person that uses this has to expand what they're doing. What was the analysis you've used in your results and your rationale for using that analysis? Remember, you decided to use the Likert scale, and you have to put in the rationale for it. Okay? Why is it so good? Why have you chosen that one? Do some research on the rationale for using that type of analysis. It also comes into the point where you have to give some kind of rationale for why you've gone for questionnaire over any other type of study. Alright? I don't like the word my. You've used it a few times, I've got rid of it. It just says the research, as you can see in this part here, and then give some extra data there. Okay, so just review that across what you've done. This is all fine. No, I don't think this is. This here is an example of your research questionnaire. With your research questionnaire, and if we go down further, you've also got down here, this is what you sent out. Remove these from this section and put them into appendices and refer to the appendices in this section. You don't need to see it here. It takes up too much space. Alright? You just refer to these in the appendices. The next one is a pilot study. Now in the pilot study, and what you've done there is you've got to be thinking about now with the pilot study, you normally have this first. So have you got the order correct? And should this be the pilot study, or is this really the main study? Again, you know there's a summary to be placed in there. I quite like all this. Now we did look, I did send to you some kind of indication that we're looking for a standard deviation. I've done some analysis on this, and I've worked out the standard deviation, and I don't think it's beneficial to what you're doing. So don't worry about doing a standard deviation for your work. Alright? Just stick to the scale that we discussed earlier on, that I sent you an email about, and go from one, and then say it's drifting towards this, it indicates these things. Okay? When you look at the Likert scale and the way you've done your analysis. Right? So I'm happy with all this. This is not a problem. I'm just going to skip down here a bit quickly. I'm going to bring this down a little bit further. I don't think I've made that much more of the results. Okay, I don't think I've made any comments here. I mean, this is all fine. Yeah, one again, general comments. It would appear that people have also put in general comments into the work. So what you would do here is, I would like to record, not specifically recorded under the specific questions, and have now been recorded here. Just make statements, not what you would like to do. End of story. Now there's not much more I can say at this point. You've got to produce your discussion, right, which is fairly close to what you've already done. It's not summary of conclusions, it is the conclusions. Okay? What you need to do here at this point is, like I've just said, you would then make a statement here when it comes to conclusions, and you would state something like this. The aim of this research was to, and you'd list down what the aim was. The research was there to test the following. Okay, and what you would say then, this is the following objectives. You'd write down the objective, and like what I said to you before, when we look at the literature review, also look at the field review, or your field work, highlighting all the major points. And then what you do is you draw a conclusion based upon that information, and you highlight each one. Now what may be beneficial to you is for you to do one conclusion, and I'll review it and then get back to you about it. Okay? Now I hope this is okay, and I hope this information is of use to you. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you need any more support.